Hey guys, we're in Japan, and in this episode we'll continue our adventure in the Nakatsugawa region before returning to Nagoya. We start out our adventure in an ancient Takayama temple to get some good fortune before heading out on our journey.
Check the number.
Ringing the bell and receiving a stick with a number, we drew our fortune and gave thanks. If it's a good one, you keep it. If it's a bad one, you tie it on the rope so the bad luck would stay behind. With good luck and the spirits on our side, we hit the road, leaving Takayama behind to head to our first stop, Tsukechi Gorge. At this time of year, it was pretty quiet. We were the only car in the car park, and the only restaurant closed. I guess there'll be no after-hike snacks for us. Deciphering the map, we were reasonably confident the trail was still open. The walk times to each point seemed reasonable, so what the hey, good chance to explore. They had a small admission fee, which we promptly pay, adhering to the signs of security cameras. A good chance to get rid of some of that spare change. The trailhead was well signed with a number of waterfall stops to see. So we started making our way down the steep gorge. Carefully though, as there'd been some snowfall in the area and some ice on the paths. The gorge was deep and within an ancient cypress forest, far away from the hustle and bustle of any of the major towns. Not too far down the steps, we came to the waterfalls, fed by snowmelt and rain from the towering Mount Ontake. The waters were crystal clear and looked very cold. Definitely not the place to take a dip. Continuing along the trail, we crossed one of the area's iconic suspension bridges. Lightly dusted with snow, it made the walk all the more thrilling. At least neither of us ended on our butts. Though we missed the peak of autumn, we could still catch a glimpse of that amazing coloured foliage the gorge is known for. From Tsukechi Gorge, we made our way through the Kiso Valley to Tsumago, one of Japan's most untouched villages. The village is a post town situated on the Nakasendo Trail, a trade route connecting Kyoto and Edo, or modern-day Tokyo. The main street has been well preserved and feels like a step back in time. The Nakasendo Trail runs 534 kilometers across Japan's central mountains. Luckily, shops and more importantly, restaurants are amongst the town's buildings, and getting hungry after a morning's hike, we stopped by a local ryokan for a bite to eat. The ryokan had a traditional dining room with tatami mats and a choice of chairs or ground cushions. Thankfully, they had plenty of heating and hot tea to warm us up from the icy temperatures outside. On the menu, apart from the staples of miso soup and rice, was a real delicacy of the region, Masu Kanroni, trout simmered in a sweet syrup, served with pickles. It certainly looked interesting to me. We also ordered a soba, served hot with mountain vegetables to warm us up from the incredible cold outside. Made from buckwheat flour, they had a nutty flavour and really warmed us up. The trout flavour though was incredible. That sweet glaze had soaked right into the fish, giving it a caramelised richness without being overpowering. Definitely felt like a home-cooked meal, so satisfying. After our light lunch, we continued the Nakasendo Trail to the town of Magome-juku, where we found a little rest stop that had the traditional clothing of the period, to get into the real spirit of the time. What do you think, guys? Do you think this style suits me? Magome in the evening was breathtaking. Water wheels, wooden homes, and barely any crowds. The peace and quiet made it feel even more magical. And the shops here sell local products made from chestnuts, ceramics, and the town's traditional look has been preserved by real residents who live in these 400-year-old homes. At the top of the town you're able to see a beautiful view of the mountains. Well, some of them. There's a bit of cloud around. We could just see the sun setting beyond the city of Nakatsugawa, our destination for dinner. But before we could leave, we had to say goodbye to one of the most friendly residents.
Okay, you should go home. Sayonara.
We decided to head down to a family-run restaurant by the name of Hiroshi on the edge of town. The staff were warm and friendly and invited us in. Starving after a long day, we started off with some fish croquettes, and they were huge. The fish was well cooked and very tasty with that Japanese mayo. Then came our mains. Luckily we ordered just the one plate. The serving was huge. And that wasn't all. It came in a set. So it came with miso soup, salad and dipping sauces and salt. The plate itself was an omurice, so it had a base of rice with an omelette over the top. Then capped off with a demi-glaze sauce, which is a kind of beefy, velvety, slightly sweet and a touch of soy sauce. Now if that didn't sound tasty enough, they also had big tempura fried prawns. Perfectly fried, still juicy, they were amazing dipped in that sauce. But the real star of the show for me was the huge chicken karaage pieces. They were like a whole chicken thigh. Super juicy and really crispy on the outside. Perfect. It was such a friendly and very hearty meal. We definitely recommend it if you're ever in Nakatsugawa. From there we stopped by a local supermarket to get some fruit and maybe a sweet. And what an experience! From cooked sweet potatoes ready to go, to fresh seafood, and even sashimi. Did I mention A5 Wagyu at affordable prices? I almost wish our hotel had a grill so we could take these back to the room. We stocked up on some snacks and wished this was our local. The next day we got our hiking boots on and checked out of Nakatsugawa. Our first stop was just on the edge of town, Naegi Castle ruins. The castle was built in 1526 on top of a small mountain that rose on the banks of the Kiso River. Just a short walk from the car park lay the ruins of the castle and the grounds. There was a steep path, or road that it used to be, all the way up to where the castle used to be. It was dismantled in the 1800s, but there was still a picture to see what it once looked like. Up the steep hill there are signs of the different areas of the castle and what they were once used for, like storing weapons or horses. This area here was once where the armory used to be, where they housed the weapons if they needed to fight the other clans. At the top, now a viewing deck stands where the main keep used to be, offering epic views of the surrounding area. Amazing to think they could build a castle on top of this rock. With the Kiso River on one side and the Nakasendo route winding its way through the mountains on the other, it's easy to see why this was such a strategic and well-protected location. Off to the one side was once where the stables and horses used to be kept. Even with the cloudy day, the scenery was absolutely stunning. Definitely one to put on your list, just 15 minutes from town and a short walk up a hill. From there it was time to head to a bigger hike in the mountains. We popped our directions into Google and started heading that way. Then a bear warning sign greeted us near the trailhead, a subtle but serious reminder that we were stepping into a real wilderness. Stopping at the end of the normal road, we decided to take the widest track, just so we could see what's coming. But then we came across a big trap. For a bear or what? It looked pretty old and it was closed, so maybe it wasn't used anymore. It certainly had us on edge though. All we saw were these handwritten signs, and checked Google, but it seemed like we were in the right place to get to the lookout, but it was very quiet and we didn't have phone reception. We tried a few different trails from the starting point, but they didn't seem to lead anywhere. This one said 1.5 kilometers to somewhere, maybe our lookout. But the trail started to get steeper and started running over the ridge lines with steep drops on either side. Then to get worse, it became completely covered in fallen leaves. So we decided to head back before we got lost, or worse, eaten.
You are in the age, be careful.
Returning back to the car, and once we got reception, we found out we might have been in a ranger-only area. I reminded us to double check the route, but it was definitely a thrilling bit of exploration. Heading back to civilization, we arrived in Nagoya. Completed in 1615 by the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu, it was the first castle in Japan to be designated a national treasure. And look at it, it definitely is a treasure. The interior has been closed since 2018 due to safety concerns from earthquakes, but there are plans in place to rebuild the interior. The views though at sunset were absolutely magic, and the castle walls and surrounding areas were a lovely way to enjoy the evening. With only a small entry fee and beautifully manicured Japanese gardens, it's definitely worth a visit. Outside the castle there are a lot of restaurants and places to relax. That night we paid a visit to the Chubu Electric Power Mirai Tower, the Nagoya TV Tower, the first TV tower completed in 1954 at over 180 meters high. Hot tip, if you head up the Oasis shopping mall, you can get this stunning night view of the tower. The next day we headed sadly to the airport, but like all places in Japan, it has everything you need. And if you missed the Studio Ghibli Museum, they have their own shop full of souvenirs and all of your favourite characters from the movies. And if you're hungry, they have all the Japanese food you could want before you leave to get that last taste. From ramen to sushi, I'm sure you'll get that last fix that you were looking for. A must do though is to check out the aircraft viewing deck. You get unreal views of the airside runways with all the planes landing and departing. A bit of a paradise for those aviation enthusiasts. Fun fact, Chubu Airport is constructed on a man-made island, an astonishing feat of engineering. But for some, it's just too cold to enjoy. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our Japan series. Let us know if you enjoyed it, and if you did, give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next one.